Hi CCC family, it's Dawn Marie with Custom Comfy Crochet, and today we are here with another video for our Halloween Granny Square Spooktacular, okay? So this is actually a pretty easy project, even though it looks kind of hard. Just a lot of half double crochets and stuff, not really hard at all. But if you are totally new to crochet and you're not familiar with some of the stitches we're using, don't forget to check out my beginner video in the description box below. Also, I would ask you to please hit that subscribe button below if you haven't yet, and please like and share. Sharing helps more than anything, and I really appreciate it, guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our materials. So for today, I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook. I'm also going to be using a little bit of fiberfill stuffing for this eye here. There is a little stuffing behind it to make it 3D, but you can also use yarn, a little bit of yarn. It doesn't require a lot of stuffing for this, okay? You will need a pair of scissors, and you will also need a darning needle. Also, remember that all my materials are in the description box below, and that includes the yarn, but I am using a 4-weight yarn for everything in this video. So let's get into the tutorial. I ran out of this lovely green for this, so I'm going to be using more of a darker green for this one. So it'll look just a little bit different, but besides that, all the other colors are exactly the same. And yeah, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is get started on this granny square. It's just a simple granny square. This is sewn on the front, so it is done separately, but I do want to show you how to do it anyway. So let's just get started on this. So to start your simple granny square, you're just going to make a slip knot. You're going to chain 3 and one more. So technically chain 4, and into the 4th chain from the hook, you're going to put 1 double crochet, then you're going to chain 2, and into this same little space, you're going to work all your stitches into this stitch right here. You're going to put 2 more double crochets, then you're going to chain 2 and put 2 more double crochets, and chain 2 and put 2 more double crochets. So you need a total of 4 of these sets with 2 in between. So then you can pull tight, and then don't forget to chain 2 here at the end as well. And then you're going to join to the top of your chain of 3 that we did in the beginning. We did a chain of 4, but when we turned, it went in. So we're going to go to the top of that and put a slip stitch. And there we've got the middle of our granny square. Okay, and so now you're going to chain 3. That counts as the double crochet over this one. And then into the next stitch, you're going to put a double crochet. And now you're at this corner. And into this corner, you're going to put 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And then you're going to be working on the top of these double crochets right here. So yarn over, go into your next stitch, put a double crochet, yarn over, go into your next stitch, put a double crochet, and then you're back at a corner again. Into the corner, you're going to put 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. And then you're at the top of these now, and so you're going to put a double crochet in the top of each of these next stitches here, 1 and 2. And now you're back at a corner again. You're going to put 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And again, back on the top of these, you're going to put a double crochet in each stitch, 1 and 2. And now you're at a corner again. You're going to put 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. Just like that. And then you're going to join to the top of your chain of 3 with a slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 3. You're going to go into the top of your next stitch and put a double crochet, into the top of your next stitch and put a double crochet, in the top of the next stitch and put a double crochet, and then you're at a corner. And in your corner, again, you're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. Then you're going to work across again. So don't forget this one right here. And you're just going to keep double crocheting across till you get to your next corner. And in your next corner, you're going to put 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And this is how this entire granny square is worked. So just like I'm showing you now, we'll continue for each round. And as you go, you will be increasing and getting bigger because of your corners, okay? So that's how it looks right there. And this is what I told you. It's just a simple granny square. A lot of you will already know how to do this. But for the rows, and you're just going to use solid green. I just didn't have a lot of this. This is why there's white in the middle. But so what you have here is you have the middle row, where we did the middle here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in total, it's a 5-row granny square. And while I've got a minute, I'll just go ahead and explain to you the size of this. This is about a 7 by 7 granny square. So it's pretty big. It's not tiny, but it's not huge either. You could obviously make it bigger if you wanted to. You could go bigger. You could even make the eye bigger later. You know, when I show you that, you can make it bigger. Just remember, if you use a smaller hook, your project's smaller. If you use a bigger hook, it's going to be bigger, okay? So what I want you to do is just continue doing exactly like I just showed you until you get to 5 rows. And then when we come back, I'm going to show you how to do the eyeball. So I'll see you back in just a minute. Okay, we finished our granny square. We've got our 5 rows, and this is exactly the size that we need to put our eye on, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and start the eye. We're going to make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you're going to join to make a circle into your first stitch from the hook, and you're going to do that with a slip stitch. Make sure that you're not working into the slip stitch, but into the actual hole. I like to kind of put my finger in there, or fingernail, to make sure that I'm working in the right place. But I don't want this to get too loose either. So I'm just going to tighten that back up. And now you're going to chain 2. That counts as your first half double crochet. And then you're going to put 9 half double crochets in the circle. So if you count your first 2, chain of 2, that makes 10 in total. But we're going to do 9 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Then you're going to pull tight, and you're going to slip stitch to the top of your first chain of 2 here, okay? So where you did that chain of 2, you're going to slip stitch to the top of that, just like that. Now we're going to bring in another color, so we're going to go ahead and cut this off. You're going to work in your ends as you go, so cut off just a little bit so you can work in as you go along. And now we're going to change to our other color, so I'm going to bring in my blue yarn. This is actually a smaller weight yarn because it was the only thing I had that I needed for, you know, for this color in particular. So you can do that, but you really want to try to use the same color, okay? So I'm just going to pull this in, go ahead and do a chain 1 to pull that closed. I'm going to go right back to where I just did my slip stitch, and I'm going to pull in my blue yarn, just like this, and do a chain 1 to hold it in place. Then I'm going to work over these 2 as I go along, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm chain 2. I don't consider my bring in as a chain, so that's totally up to you, but I chain 2. And then right into the same spot, that counted as my first half double crochet. So back into that same spot I just worked into, I'm going to put a half double crochet. So now there's 2 there technically. And again, I've got this laid over and I'm working over it as I go along. And then into my next stitch, I'm going to put 2 half double crochet. And into my next stitch, I'm going to put 2 half double crochet. And I'm going to put 2 half double crochet in each stitch all the way around for a count of 20. And again, as you can see, I'm just laying these over and working around these as I go. That way I won't have to work anything in, and it'll be nice and tight. Although I do want to say, because you're placing this eye on your granny square, all your ends do not have to be worked in because they're going to go right into the middle. But I just do this for added protection. Okay. So let's count and see how many we have so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we have 2 more to go into this last stitch right here to get our 20. Okay, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my chain of 2. Just like that. And now I'm going to cut off again. And I'm going to pull through with a chain 1 to close. Just like that. And that's what it looks like. And now I'm going to bring in my green color. So again, I'm going to come right into where I just finished with my slip stitch. And I'm going to bring in this solid green color with a chain 1. I'm just going to pull tight, and I'm going to work over these as I go again. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 2 again, and that counts as my first half double crochet. And now I'm going to put 1 more half double crochet in the same spot because that first one counted there. So that's 2. And then into my next space, I'm going to put 1 half double crochet. And into the next, I'm going to put 2 half double crochet. Into the next, I'm going to put 1 half double crochet. Into the next, I'm going to put 2 half double crochet. And that's the same thing you work all the way around. That's the sequence, 1 and 2 all the way around. And you should have a stitch count of 30. Okay, so now we're on our last stitch of this round. So we're going to put 1 half double crochet here, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch into the top of our chain of 2. Okay, and now we're going to cut off again. So as you can see, we just keep increasing. And now we're going to change to our white color. We're going to bring our white in right here. The chain 1, and then I'm going to work over these as I go along, and just like we've done before, I'm going to do a chain 2, and then in the same spot I'm going to put another half double crochet because that counted as my first half double crochet. And then I'm going to go into my next spot and work 1 half double crochet, into my next, work 1 half double crochet, and into the next I'm going to do 2 half double crochets. Into the next I'm going to put 1 half double crochet, into the next 1 half double crochet, and into the next 2 half double crochet. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way around until you get to the end, and I'll meet back with you in just a minute. Okay, so now we reach the end of that row. We're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain of 2. Okay, and now we're going to do one more row here. So we're going to chain 2, go into the same spot here that we just slip stitched into, put another half double crochet, because remember that chain of 2 counts as a half double crochet. And then we're going to go into our next stitch, and we're going to put 1 half double crochet, go into the next, put 1 half double crochet, go into the next, put 1 half double crochet. So we've got 3 half double crochets, and then we're going to work 2 in the same spot, 2 half double crochets, and then again we're going to do 3 half double crochets across, and then we're going to do 2 in the same spot, and you're just going to keep doing that all the way around. Okay, and by the end of this you should have a stitch count of 50. Okay, so we're at the end of this round now, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain of 2, and now we're going to cut off. Then we're going to pull in with a chain 1 to close, and now I want you to turn your eye this way, so where your tail is pointing out here. That's just going to give us a point of direction for this. Is I want you to count from over here to over here 25. So starting with where this stitch is right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, so right into this place right here, we're going to put a stitch marker. I just use yarn as a stitch marker, but you can use anything you want. Okay, so I'm just going to place that right there. Okay, and so we're going to start right over here, and we're going to go all the way to over there. Okay, so we're going to bring in our green yarn, and we're going to bring it right where this piece is right here. We're going to make a chain 1 to pull in our color, and then we're going to chain 2. That chain of 2 counts as our first half double crochet. Now we're going to work into our next 2 stitches, and we're going to put 2 half double crochets together. So I want you to yarn over, go into your very next stitch, pull up, go through 2. Yarn over, go into your next stitch, pull up, go through 2. You have 3 loops, go through all 3. Then go to your next stitch and do a half double crochet. And then in the next 2, you're going to do 2 together. So pull up, go through 2, yarn over, go into the next, pull up, go through 2, then go through all 3. Then go to your next stitch and put 1 half double crochet. Then go to your next, go in like you're going to do a half double crochet, but only go through 2. And again, yarn over, go to your next, pull up, only go through 2. You have 3 loops, go through all 3. Then in the next, do a half double crochet, and the next, do a half double crochet 2 together. In the next, 1 half double crochet, and then again 2 together. So you're just going to be doing this all the way till you get to your stitch marker. Just doing 2 half double crochets together and then 1 half double crochet. Okay, pull out your stitch marker, put your last half double crochet there, and this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be turned in quite a bit, and that's exactly what we want, okay? Because this is what's going to make it look 3D and give it the eyelid that it has, okay? Isn't that so cool? So that's what we're making this for. So then after you finish that, you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. Now, working from the back now, we're going to be working in the back loops only. These can be a little hard to find because we did so many half double crochet 2 together. So just really try to find the back loop of your stitch and work into that. So yarn over, go into your first available back loop here, working in the back loop only, and do a half double crochet. And then again, half double crochet, working through the back loops only. And if you can see, sometimes you need to turn your work on its side so you can see where the stitches are because they're flopping forward. So if you look right here, you can, let me go ahead and pull this out. Let me get a little stick pin here. So if you pull this way, you can even flatten it out if you need to. You can see the stitches here, the little V's. So you're working only in this back loop right here and only in this back loop right here. So if you can tell, some of these stitches look a little bit larger, and so it's hard to tell which ones are. So when we did the half double crochet 2 together, those stitches might be a little bit bigger, especially if you have loose work like I do right now. So this one and this one do not look the same size at all. And then we've got another one here and another one here and another one here. So just, you know, manipulate your work so that you can find it. I just wanted to show you that. So again, just working half double crochets in the back loop only. Again, I'm turning it on its side to make sure that I can see the stitch. And this might look a little wonky, but just do exactly what I'm showing you to do. Don't give up, because it's all going to turn out perfect in the end. We just want to make sure that this eyelid is 3D, okay? And so we're going into our last stitch here into the back loop only. Then we're going to chain 2 and turn our work again. Now, this is what it looks like so far. So you've got this coming over the eye like that, which really gives it that 3D look. But we also want it to be able to go back so that we could sew it on. So after we chain 2 and turn, we're going to go into the front loop and we're going to put a half double crochet. So now working from the other side, you're only working in the front loop. These are going to be easier to see though. So again, let me pull out my stick pin so I can show you. Here's our stitch right here, the first one we're going to be working into. You're going to be working in this stitch closest to you right here, this one right here, okay? So going through the front loop only, we're going to do half double crochets all the way down. And I remember when I first started doing more intricate work, like I wasn't just doing blankets anymore. I was doing like amigurumi and stuff like this, you know, where you're just really having to get into a pattern, make a pattern, do things like that. But sometimes I notice it was hard for me to tell, like when you're looking back loop and front loop, when you look at this like this looks like the stitch right here. So sometimes you might be looking at this and you think, well, here's my stitch right here. But no, it's not. It's right here at the top, right, going down across the top. And the only thing that really helps you with that is just the more you do crochet. So just make sure you're not working in that stitch below. I'm just trying to think of things that could happen as you're working on this and give you some tips. But I think I've actually done that before. That's why I wanted to tell you about it. And I was like, why is this not working? Why does this look so weird? And it's because I was working through the wrong place. And there were even some times way back with the back loop and the front loop thing where I was working, even just crocheting, in the wrong space. Now we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and now we're just going to do a round of regular half double crochet. So you're just going to go right under the stitch normally. So just do a row of regular half double crochets. Okay, and this is what it looks like so far right here. So we just, oh sorry, it's out of camera. So we just have one more row here of the half double crochets. So we're going to chain 2 and turn our work again and just do regular half double crochets all the way across. Okay, and so now we're done with this part. So we're going to cut off and we're going to tie in just like that with a chain 1. And this is what it's going to look like once we put it on. So when we pull in our granny square, this is going to lay like this, and this is going to go up here, and it's going to give it that 3D look, but then we're going to stuff it, okay? So to make it look really Halloween-y, we're going to put the red in the eye, and I'm just going to go through this top here, leave a piece in the back, okay? Leave a piece like that in the back because you can tie it off. As a matter of fact, I might go ahead and do that just to anchor it. So remember, like I told you, doesn't matter what the back looks like because it's going on the top of the granny square. But now if you are just doing this as just a basic applique, I don't know how that would work, but I guess you could do a back for it, then you would still need to work in your ends, okay? So I'm going to start right here at the top, pull that in, and I'm going to go right to the bottom here, so right in between these white and the green, and I'm going to bring it all the way down. And I'm going to do different sizes for these to make it look more realistic. So then I'm going to go over to the next, in between this next space, and I'm going to probably just go like up to here. And then for the next one, I'm going to go all the way to the top again, and then go down. Just like that. And you can just alternate, you know, how far you want these to go up, but changing the size is what it's going to make it look a little bit more real. Of course it is a cartoony eye, but you know what I mean. You don't just want the straight lines to just be all the same. Okay. Okay guys, so I finished the red around my eye, and I also worked, there was a white piece over here and a green piece over here that needed to be worked into the back. I just worked them in long enough to bring them back to the back since we are going to be covering it, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to place it right on to our granny square. So you want to place it exactly where you want it to be. So I'm going to put mine right in the center as I possibly can here. But I also want to make sure that I have enough room. This is going to come forward. So you're going to pull this forward like this, and then it's going to lay flat on the back, okay? So that's how you get that eyelid look, all right? So this part right here is going to be laying flush. This part is going to be going over. If you have any ends poking out, just push them in. And then this part is going to be right here at the end. So I can push this up just a little bit. Just want to make sure I have enough room. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stick pins, which I forgot to tell you about in the beginning of the video, and I'm sorry about that, but again, the material list is in the description box below. So I'm going to take my stick pins because I don't want this to move, and I need to sew and I need to stuff it. So you don't have to use stick pins, but it's definitely going to help keep this exactly where you want it to be on your granny square, okay? Or whatever you're putting this on. So I'm just placing these all around just to keep it in place. So I'm going to put one up here at the top of this as well. And this is going to kind of curve in like that. So this does take some manipulating with your fingers. So like this is going to go down over this way. And then I'm going to, and this one's going to go over this way. So I'll put another stick pin over here. Just like that. Okay, isn't that so cool? So now I'm going to show you how to sew this on. And I'm just going to go in, but I'm only going to work through my bottom loop of these stitches going across, okay? So it'll make it poke out even more. So I'm going to pull that through, and I'm going to leave this hanging in the back and leave a piece to work in like that, okay? And then I'm going to go through my next stitch, the back loop only, and through the next back loop only, and here as well. And you just keep doing it just like that, working in the bottom of your stitches only. So I say the back loop, but really it's the loop that's closest to you on the bottom of the stitch. Okay, and then you can pull tight on this piece, and as you can see, they kind of float into the work there, okay? And so again, I'm going in through this loop closest to you, and I'm just going in and out. And then you can pull tight. Well, you don't want to pull really tight, but you want to pull kind of tight to get that stitch in there. And then pull like this. So I want you to keep doing that all the way around, and then when we get to the other side, I'm going to show you how to stuff it and how to finish sewing on the eyeball, okay? I'll see you back in just a minute. Okay, so I've sewed all the way around to right about here. I've left a little opening. The thing is, when you're stuffing this, you want your stuffing to be down at the eyeball. You don't want it to be up here because it can get too big and pop out. So the way you stuff this is pretty important, okay? I'm just going to take that one stick pin out. So I'm just going to take a little bit of stuffing, and like I said, you could use yarn as well because you don't need a ton. It looks like you would need a ton, but you really don't. And so we're just going to place this around into the middle of the eye. Keep sewing just the way I've been showing you. You're going to keep going up the white part. So go right in here and then go like this. So keep doing it like that. And then you're simply going to sew this piece on as well, just like that. You're going to sew it exactly the way you have it, okay? So that's really important. So what I want to do is I'm going to do these last sides. I'm going to do them at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and jump up to this part, and I'm going to start sewing this piece in. And now you're going to use your hands to manipulate the stuffing and make sure that it's down at the edge of the eye. So it's going all the way down. You want to make sure that that stuffing's down there. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to sew these where they go like this, more in. So they're going to be like that, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do that. What you need to do is work in your ends. So just work in your ends and you'll be all done. And now we've got this one and this one as well. So cool. Really enjoy doing this. Lots of fun, okay? So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you need any help or anything, don't hesitate to ask. You can obviously ask me anything you want in the YouTube comment section below, but if you're not comfortable with that, you can also Gmail me, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So I'll see you again soon for another spooky video. Happy crocheting. Bye-bye.